Shalom. I am Rabbi Nathan Davidovich, speaking to you on behalf of the webyeshiva.org, speaking to you from Efrat, Israel. I'm going to speak about this week's Torah reading, Bechukosai, and specifically the message that we get from this Torah reading, that God is present. Hashem is present in everything that happens in our lives. And this week's Torah readings contains a recitation of curses that will befall the Jewish people if they don't follow God's path. But if we have Emunah, the strong faith that God is always with us, even in the times of difficulty, the times of tsuras, it will give us the strength to not only withstand whatever may befall us, but also enable us to live a life of happiness, prosperity, success. The curses that are mentioned in this Torah are referred to as the tochacha. Tochacha means rebuke. 2 times in the Torah does God list a whole list of very bad things that will happen to his people if we don't follow in his footsteps, if we don't follow in the qualities of God. One of those times is this week's Torah reading, Parsha Bechukosai. The second is in the book of Deuteronomy, in Parsha Kitovo. And there is a major difference in these 2 parshas. The difference is apparent when you look at the tochacha in this week's Torah reading. And after listing all the things that will happen if we don't follow God's ways, the Torah tells us, "V'af gam zot biyosem ba'eretz ovehem lo ma'astim v'lo galosam l'kulasam ki ani Hashem Elokeichem ichrati lehem b'ris rishonim." It says, despite all that you have done while you were in the land of your enemies, I will not be revolted, nor will I reject my people to destroy them, because I am Hashem. So those are words of comfort that are present in this week's Torah reading with the Tochacha, comforting the Jewish people to understand that no matter what happens, God will never cast us aside. God will always love his people. The question that is asked in the second Tochacha, the one in Kitovo, the other one I referred to, you don't see words of comfort like this. Excuse me. You don't see words of comfort mentioned just like this is. So the Chassam Sofer says that the reason that the Parsha of Kitovo does not contain the words of comfort is he says that every one of the curses that are mentioned, in fact, within that curse contains words of comfort. What is the word of comfort? The curses in Kitovo begin with words like V'tenach Hashem, God will give you. Yidbak Hashem, God will cause you to cleave. Every time the word Hashem, the 4-letter name of God, Yud Kei Vav Kei, is mentioned. And we know that the 4-letter name of God, Yud Kei Vav Kei, is a sign of God's mercy to his people. So we see that in the Tochacha of Kitovo, in every single curse, we see God's presence, God's mercy present. And we have to have Emunah. And we believe that despite all the hardships that we might be going through in our life, whether they're physical, whether they're national, whether they're different tragedies, whether they're parnasa, your ability to make a living, that everything that happens doesn't happen by chance. It comes from God. And since it comes from God, as we see in the recitation of the Torah, everything is for our good. Everything is God's mercy shown to us. And after the Torah in Kitovo, the second one, in Deuteronomy, it gives a reason for these curses. And it says, Tachas asher ilvarta es Hashem Elokecha b'simcha u'b'tov lev. These curses happened to you because you did not serve God with joy and with a happy heart. We often, we're commanded to do various mitzvahs, various commandments of the Torah. We're commanded to eat kosher food. We're commanded to, if you're a man, to put on tefillin every day, except for Shabbat. We're commanded to keep the Shabbat. And the question is, how do we approach these mitzvahs? Are we approaching them with joy? If we approach them with joy, it's like winning the lottery. If we approach the mitzvah with joy, you're getting to a closer relationship with God, as opposed to somebody who just does a commandment out of rote. God doesn't want a bunch of robots. Judaism is not a spectator sport. He doesn't want us sitting on a bench and just doing things because that's what's commanded. He wants us to do things out of the love of God, out of Emunah of God. The Torah reading today, this week, on Shabbos, begins with the words, Im Bechukosai telechu, if you will walk in my statutes. And the Rabbi brings down the Divrei Yisrael of Moshe, who says that the word chok refers to parnasa, refers to your ability to make a living. And the Torah is teaching us that if you believe your parnasa is from God, then the rest of the pasuk follows. If you believe your parnasa, your livelihood comes from God, v'nasati gishmechem be'itom, I will have it rain in the proper seasons. If you believe it, it will happen. There's nothing better for parnasa than Emunah. Regarding doing the mitzvahs and being happy with the mitzvahs, there are many stories that illustrate this, how important doing a mitzvah is, fulfilling a commandment of God. A story was told from a Rav who survived the Holocaust. And he told the story that during the Holocaust, he and his brother were able to escape and run into a forest where they were joined by a bunch of partisans who were fighting against the Nazis. The partisans were not Jewish. And the partisans would appoint a guard to sit on top of a tree to watch to see if the Nazis were coming. And one day a guard saw soldiers coming, and he alerted everybody in the camp and said, we have to run deeper into the forest. They got deeper into the forest, and the two brothers realized that they forgot to take their tefillin with them. Their tefillin, which you're supposed to put on every day. And they figured if they don't go back to get them, God knows when they'll be able to put on tefillin again. And they knew it was very dangerous. The partisans didn't want them to go. It's too dangerous. Nonetheless, they went back, took a circuitous route, came back to where they had previously camped, found their tefillin in the same place. No sign of any Nazis. And they danced with joy, put on their tefillin, they prayed mincha, they danced with joy, and then they decided to go back to join the partisans in the forest. They went back, and they found that all of the partisans had been killed. The Nazis had found them and killed them all. It was the mitzvah of keeping tefillin, and the joy with that mitzvah that saved their lives. That story is repeated so many, many times. Even with Hashem b'simcha, if you serve God with joy, and you realize that everything that God does is for our good, you can only be happy. It's like winning the lottery many, many times over. Thank you for listening on behalf of the webyeshiva.org. I wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom.